Hi, I'm Richard McManus. I'm going to tell you a story today about phonemic awareness. You may or may not know much about phonemic awareness. I didn't used to. Right from the first, we've operated the Fluency Factory using a really powerful phonics program that includes fluency criterion, which means all the way along students have to pass certain levels of performance to move up. So at every step, they have to read quickly and easily, accurately, and at every step, they get the chance to practice that until they're really good at it. So kids feel really confident using our techniques. So phonemic awareness was a piece that I thought we were teaching, but it turns out we were not, because phonemic awareness is a different kind of thing than just phonics, than just decoding. It's a totally different thing, and it goes back to the very beginning of a child's life. Children learn to distinguish their own language's vowel sounds in their first 14 or 15 months of life. So during that period, what they've learned is really critical for actually making any sense of the language. To some degree, our consonants in English are just there to separate the vowels, which carry the meaning. I'm not going to go into today a long explanation of what that looks like and sounds like, or show you how we teach them. I'm going to show you why we teach them. My friend Jean Tucker came down to be a consultant for us with a little boy who was having some problems with articulation. While she was here, she saw a girl and her mom in our waiting room. The two were talking. Jean listened, and when they left, turned to me and said, "You know, that little girl, her mom is not a native English speaker, and she does not hear English vowels correctly, and consequently her reading comprehension is going to be severely damaged." I was shocked by what she said, because I knew that those things were true. This little girl, who had a 90th percentile, was a 5th grader who could read 12th grade words, had serious problems with reading comprehension. In fact, when I first assessed her, a little 5th grader, she could read 12th grade material. I said to her mom, "Wow, Jess can read 12th grade material." And her mom said, "Yeah, she can, but she won't understand it. Her reading comprehension is below 10th percentile. And when we assessed her ability to hear English vowel sounds, it was true. She could really not hear them, because that piece of learning was done at an early age. So if your mom or dad, and more often moms because they see their kids more often, if they cannot correctly pronounce English vowel sounds, as a baby you're going to select for the vowel sounds they can sound correctly. So what difference does that make? Well, it turns out what we've now learned is that it can make a profound difference. I'm going to tell you about Abby because she's our most recent giant miracle girl, and we love her. So here's what happened to Abby. When we first met her, her reading comprehension, let's get that right, was at 6th percentile on something called the SSAT, which is a test to get into private schools. Abby was a very talented young athlete, also a terrific student, an A student, but on this test her performance was only a 6th percentile, and the overall performance on the test was 8th percentile. Insufficient to get into these tough schools. That was in November of last year. November of 12. By December, we started working with her, and by December, her reading had come up slightly to the 11th percentile, and the overall performance on this test was up to the 16th percentile. Now, we knew this didn't represent who Abby really was. We could tell. Her effort levels and her ability to understand the material was fabulous, but those lack of vowel sounds was killing her. By the end of January, by February 1st, so really, her reading was at 40th percentile. And her overall performance on this test, the SSAT, which is kind of like the junior version of the SAT, was at 47th percentile. Now that was the last time that she could take that test and have it be meaningful for getting into these private schools. And it turned out she got in. Her excellent grades, her excellent level of effort, the kind of recommendations this girl would score meant that she had access. And now these tests were not blocking her from getting in. What I've thought about ever since is here is a privileged girl who has excellent, excellent education behind her, and she was being severely damaged by this. And once we taught it to her and a few tricks to do well on the test, she soared. A few tricks to do well on the test would not have made that difference. And if we'd had her for another month, my personal belief, she would have been in the 80th percentile. She's that kind of girl. What about the children who have not learned to read well, who don't have any phonics? The children who have a mom or dad who speaks to them primarily in Spanish or an Asian language. When they face the challenges of our school system and are thrown out because, well, they're just not very smart. This girl, to look at it, she was even told by a guidance counselor, no, don't do tutoring because it will only make things worse. She'll feel terribly. She's such a hard worker that her effort will be unrewarded and she'll be hurt emotionally. Not what happened, of course, but think what's happening to those little children who don't have these skills. Thanks. We'll talk again.